Anyone who is on my live video, we got a simulcast today. We got Zoom going for our live coaching, the Cream community, and we have a live Facebook deal going on. And for you all on Facebook, today you get a sneak peek into how we negotiate our real estate deals. And this is just years of accumulated knowledge of talking to sellers. It's a lot of time on the phone. We're talking hours upon hours upon hours of just talking, negotiating with sellers, and the kind of do's and don'ts of negotiating real estate deals over the phone, because it is a delicate balance. And if you don't know what you're doing wholeheartedly, you'll find yourself losing more deals than actually making more deals. And we still do this. I mean, there's nothing I like better than getting on the phone with a seller and building rapport. What you're going to learn today is it's all about rapport. It's all about finding the motivation. And don't talk about the money until the rapport is built and until the money, or I'm sorry, until the motivation is drawn out. What you're going to learn today is that the why of somebody is selling a house is more important than the house that they're selling. So we're going to show you some techniques today on kind of how to get to the core of why they're selling their property, because that's the most important thing, how to build rapport, how to make a friend over the phone when negotiating a real estate deal, and ultimately how to get more deals, buy more houses at deeper discounts, make more money, be more successful, because that's what we're all about in the Cream community. If you're getting a freebie, if you're getting a free taste of what we're all about, you can visit us online to keep the conversation going, and you can find us at risewiththecream.com. Most of you know me. For those of you that don't, I'm Dave Payerchin. I have my business partner, RJ Pepino, in the house here, and we got the whiteboard broken out today. And just a lot of good stuff for you guys. So I want to jump right in. Feel free to ask questions in the comments. We'll do our best to get to them. I know RJ is going to be somewhat inexposed. We got other calls and whatnot happening, but I'm here with you 100%. And first and foremost, what I want to cover is something we call F.O.R.M. F-O-R-M. So RJ, why don't you jump in there, and hopefully it's not backwards for you all on my live video. But maybe you can chime in a little bit here, because I know you got to run at some point. But why don't you chime in a little bit? Why are we using F.O.R.M? What is F.O.R.M? F-O-R-M.
Yep. So this is kind of like a way to build rapport with the motivated seller. Everybody, nice to meet everybody. Hopefully you're having a solid. Yep, it's backward. It's cool. We can explain it. You'll just have to listen, Brian. It's what you want to ask. A certain kind of rapport building points, data points, before you start talking about money. So one of the first things is F, family.
Friends and family.
Yep, family, friends. And what that would look like is, hey, motivated seller, how's it going today? You're already talking to that motivated seller and you're asking them questions about, why they're selling their house. And they potentially could say, well, I'm moving to go live with my uncle, or moving to go live with my grandma, or go and live with whoever, right? And so at that point, you want to say, oh, great, where do they live, right? Where do they live? You're looking for certain points of reference so that you could try and build rapport with them. Because when you're over the phone, you only have so many seconds to build rapport before you lose the call. And friends and family, like maybe they're leaving to go live with their best friend in Florida, or they're leaving to go live with, again, it's family, friends. So you can build upon that. That's the first part, friends and family. Second is occupation. Okay, so over the phone, we do a lot of contracts over the phone. So the thing is, like, you ask, what do they do? What do they do for a living? Maybe they're moving because they're getting promoted and they're relocating to another state. And so you can build on that. Well, what do you do for a living? I am an attorney. I'm a nurse. you know, and if there's something to relate upon, like, you know, in my family, we've got nurses, we can say, well, yeah, my uncle's a nurse, my cousin's a nurse. I have friends that are traveling nurses. And so then you can start to try and relate with that person on the phone. You only have so many seconds to do that. Occupation. How can you find out what they do so that you can use it to relate to them? The next is recreation. Recreation is what do they do for fun? So maybe along in the call, they're talking about, well, you know, what are you doing today? Oh, you got me. I'm golfing, or I'm, you know, I'm fishing. You know, so you can ask them certain questions like, hey, what are you up to today? And they're saying that they're fishing. Then you can use that as a way to build rapport. Oh, I was just and this is a real life example. I was fishing in Lake Erie last weekend, catching walleye. So I can talk about that. Oh, where are you fishing? Well, I'm catching fish in Florida, Lake Erie. These are all F.O.R.M, family, friends, occupation, recreation, are all talking points before you get into the money and motivation, right? Before you even talk about the whole money aspect of sales and of getting stuff in contract over the phone, you want to go over these things first. Family and friends, occupation, recreation, that's F.O.R.M. That's what we use. That's what our cold callers use. That's what we use today to get these properties in contract.
Thank you, RJ. And what I want to get into now, so these are all little rapport building. It's almost like clues, like you're kind of a detective, right? When you are, you know, on the phone with the seller, the ultimate goal to crack the case is what you want. You want to find out what they want for the property, or you want to find out, get to the money. But before you get to the money, you got to get to the motivation. Before you get to the motivation, you got to get to the rapport. So that's the way it goes, rapport, and then that'll get into the why they're selling, the motivation for selling. And you better know the motivation before the money, because if you jump right into the money, you're going to sound too aggressive, you're going to sound too desperate, and they're going to say, oh, this person just wants to make a bunch of money off me. I'm not interested in giving you any ammo or rapport building clues or anything. In fact, I don't even want to sell to this person because I feel like they're greedy, and this is just stuff that we've come across in our career. So build rapport first, then get into motivation, then get into the money. And now I'm going to teach you guys how to kind of delicately draw out the motivation before we get to the money. So give me 1 second. Okay. So you want to play this little game. And I'm going to try to draw neutral things here. Let me see the blue marker, RJ. I'm going to try to draw neutral things here so it won't show up backwards to you. So, you know, I'm not much of an artist, but this is a house. I know it's got a little glare on it. A house, and then I'm drawing a stick figure person. And you folks at home probably can't see anything. Let me try that again. They can see it. They can see it good enough. So we got a house and we got a person. So what you want to do is get to the ultimate goal, remember, is to find the motivation of the seller. But in order to do that, number one, always be listening for your clues. What are the clues again? F.O.R.M, friends and family, occupation, recreation. What do you do for fun? That's ways to get into a conversation. You're going to get the most information when it's a genuine conversation. Now, here's a little tip for you, and I share this with you, and it's served us very well when it comes to a lead manager, or when it comes to especially a virtual assistant who is handling some calls or maybe doing some follow-up leads for you. This is very good information, and this was discovered. We didn't learn this from a book. We learned this from our own experience. So it's super easy these days to find house information online for free. You can pull up the county website, you can pull up Zillow, you can see how many bedrooms and bathrooms, what are the square footage, this and that. Especially for your virtual assistants, if you have outsourced this, the information gathering, Don't let your virtual assistants just pull it right up online and confirm the information. It'll take away the genuine curiosity of the conversation. I don't care what kind of thing you're selling over the phone. I have over 10,000 hours of phone sales under my belt, everybody. This is what I did for a living before real estate. So I was on the phone for many, many years. And you need to be genuinely curious, because no matter who it is that you're on the phone with, they will know subconsciously if you are genuinely curious and genuinely interested in just a genuine human being, or they're going to know if you're just kind of full of you know what, and kind of like a used car salesman. Everybody gets that feeling, right? You don't want to be a used car salesman. So I encourage you to have your virtual assistants and you yourself, when you're on the phone with a seller, don't look up the house information and already know. Be genuinely curious. So ask them, and this is why I have a house, and then I have the motivation. This is the end goal. You want to know the why they're selling. Why they're selling is more important than what they're selling, which is the house, right? You're going to get all the information about the house. You're going to probably end up going over there. We tend to get a lot of contracts over the phone, which is kind of cool. But if you're just starting out, I encourage you to go on as many appointments as you possibly can, because evaluating the property is a whole nother skill set, right? But you're going to find everything there is to know about the house. By the end of this deal, if you're truly buying this house or wholesaling this house, whatever you're doing, you're going to be able to find the bedrooms and bathrooms and square footage. You don't need to just look it up with the seller over the phone, especially when you're trying to build a relationship. So I want you folks to genuinely ask, how many bedrooms is there? How many bathrooms is there? Is there a garage? And be genuinely interested. The only thing you should have in front of you is a notepad and a pen. Don't have your laptop up, because it's going to be tempting, and you're going to want to sit there and pull it up on Zillow and start looking at values. You're going to take your brain. We all want to make a buck. I get it. I know how this works. We all want to start to see, what things are going for in the area and stuff like that. Don't. It's going to take away the genuine curiosity, and it's going to keep the conversation pointed in the right direction. So what you want to do is genuinely be curious about the house, and then use that as little clues to find out, like, why are you even selling? So build rapport with your clues, the friends and family, occupation, recreation, before you get to the motivation, but then use the conversation, the genuine conversation about the house, to get to the motivation. So you're going to want to ask Mr. or Mrs. Seller, here's a great way to find out about repairs. Okay. First off, you're going to want to talk about just the schematics of the house. How many bedrooms is there? Oh, 3 bedrooms. Perfect. Write that down on your yellow pad. How many bathrooms? 2 baths. Sweet. Do you know the approximate square footage? Always talk in ballparks. Always just kind of keep it a loose conversation. Don't make it like an interrogation or a pop quiz about the house. A great way to start to get into the repairs, because the repairs are going to be a major negotiating point for you as the real estate investor, and you're genuinely interested in the repairs, right? Now, what you're going to also find is a lot of these motivated sellers and sellers that you talk to on the phone, no one knows how much it actually costs to fix up their house. And everybody thinks it costs much less than it actually does. That's just the reality of how this works. So you're going to want to ask them, not, hey, does the house need a lot of repairs? Instead, ask them, have you done any major updates recently or at any time since you've owned it? Oh, 5 years ago, we replaced the roof. Oh, 5 years ago. Okay. So now they've been there for at least 5 years. How long have you owned the property? Oh, geez, you've owned it for 30 years? Okay, over the last 30 years, I'm sure you have a lot of memories there. Did you raise your family there? Oh, yeah, raised my family. He's going off to Ohio State. Ooh, you just heard a friends and family clue. Bing, bing. Take it right back to F.O.R.M. Oh, Ohio State. You ever go to any Buckeyes games? So you use the house to start to learn more about their story. That's going to add to your rapport, and it's all leading up to why they're selling the property. But you don't want to just come right out. Could you imagine talking to somebody on the phone? You want to sell your house. This is the biggest scariest sale that they probably will make in their entire life. So if you just come right out and be like, well, why are you selling it? No one's going to want to give you a straight answer, but everybody has a story. And the only way you're going to get to the story of why they're selling is to learn other stories about them. And you're going to learn of that through the friends and family, occupation, recreation, before you get to the motivation, but then use the house to get the conversation started. But you have to be genuinely curious. And you can't just have the information pulled up. Oh, I see it's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. Yeah, I'm looking online right now. Okay, what were you looking to get for the house? Now they're scared. You went right to the money. There's no rapport. There was no genuine curiosity. So before you get to the motivation, and I'm going to get into my next segment here on kind of how to, go back and forth with my next part, which is like sensitive questions versus non-sensitive questions. But before I do that, RJ, any feedback, anything for you?
So Dave, what about, like for people that they call and are like, well, shouldn't you already know that information? You called me.
Phenomenal question.
You called me.
Phenomenal question. So RJ's question is this: especially when it's like a cold call lead, when the seller says, well, shouldn't you already know that information? Especially you're going to get that sometimes, when you get into the house, 3 bedrooms, 2 bed. What you could say is, well, every house is a little different. I don't have that information in front of me. We're calling everybody in this particular zip code and area because we've already bought a couple houses over there. We just want to buy one more. We're strong buyers. And can you kind of fill me in a little bit? That's how I would handle that one. It's like, but you want to be the one playing dumb. You don't want to be the one who's the know-it-all. Let them be the know-it-all, right? Because it's not about being right. It's about being rich at the end of the day. It's about getting great deals. And in any negotiation, you're going to find somebody who wants to be right, and then somebody who, is more the humble, stepped back person. And that's the role you want to take. So I would be very comfortable saying, no, I don't have that information. Another objection that RJ was somewhat alluding to is that we get all the time from a motivated seller is, well, what's your offer? What happens when the seller just wants to jump right in and go to the money before you have enough rapport or before you know enough about the house to kind of make a genuine offer? You're going to find those people too. They want to rush the sales process. You can't give in. Don't let them take you to the money. Don't let them rush you to the money, to the M, because it's going to end in a disaster. It never works out well when you rush to the money. So when somebody comes with the objection, what's your offer? What you need to say is this: build credibility in yourself and your company first. Say, well, we are legitimate cash buyers, just want you to know. And any offer I give you is going to be a cash offer. I mean, this is a real thing. We're going to send the money. I mean, we can wire the money today. Like, we are very serious about buying, but I need more information before I can just willy-nilly. In fact, Mr. Seller or Mrs. Seller, I would be skeptical of anyone I was on the phone with who was just willy-nilly throwing numbers around. So let me then take it back to the house. You got to take it back to the house. So there's an order here, right? Rapport, motivation, right? House is motivation. It's the same thing. There's rapport, motivation / the house of what they're selling, and then the money. If they try to rush you to the money, get back to the middle. Get back to the house. Hang on a second. I'm not ready to make you an offer. I would be skeptical of anyone who's just throwing numbers around. I need to learn more about the house, and I would get right into the updates at that time. So can you tell me, hang on a second, before we talk, offer, I need to know, I mean, because we're going to make you a serious offer. Can you tell me about any updates that you've done? Get them talking about the house, and then listen for clues when they're talking about the house, that you can go back to form and take it back to the very beginning. You see how you work them back a little bit. So if they go right for the money, you got to take it back to the house, the object, and then try to hear the story within the story when they're describing the house to you, so you can use that to build more rapport. What other questions, RJ, or what feedback do you have?
No, this is all good. Another thing that would come up is like, well, how did you even get my, and this is always a question that we hear in our calls, how did you even get my information?
Yes.
Who are you?
How did you even get my information is one that we get all the time. And the best thing to do when you're confronted with a basically in your face kind of question like that, like, where did you get my information? The truth will set you free. Be completely honest about where you got their information. Say, oh, we pull all the information only in areas that we're serious about buying in. We're not just calling everybody. It's not a random call. We're serious about buying in your area. So we pull the information from everybody and we do a big internet search. I don't even know the marketing people do that, but no, I bought this list. Of course, that's why I'm grateful to be on the phone with you, right? I mean, this is amazing for me too. I'm glad to meet you, and I'm going to be completely upfront with you the entire time. They're going to know if you're full of crap, right? If you're just lying on where you got their phone number, if they sense that you're lying about where you got their phone number, they're going to think they're going to know that you're lying about everything, and then they're not going to take you seriously or want to do business with you. So when you get hit with a question like, where did you get my information? Be completely upfront and honest. There's nothing to lie about. There's nothing to BS about. What are the questions? Okay, so in wrapping up here a little bit, you're going to want to remember F.O.R.M, and F.O.R.M gives you the little nuggets that you're going to use to build rapport. Then you're always going to want to do F.O.R, which is friends and family, occupation, recreation. What do you do for fun? Before the money or the motivation. And the way you find the motivation is by talking about the house. It is best to be genuinely curious about that. I feel like I'm going to sneeze, RJ. So be genuinely curious about the house and then use that to actually find little nuggets and clues to get back to the rapport building stuff. And then before you get to the money. So after you already have done a few stories with them, you have rapport, you have some stories, you kind of know about them a little bit, what's going on, kind of why they're selling. They've already told you they're moving to Florida, something like that. You can build on that. Then you're going to say, what were you thinking about getting for the property? And then what's up, Brewer? And Eric Brewer, vouch for me here. A lot of people, sellers, they're not going to want to give you a number. So what we tell our people, Eric Brewer probably has even better ways to do it. Follow him if you're online, Eric Brewer, thebrewermethod.com. But a lot of sellers are not going to want to give you a number right up front. Of course, this is sales. I don't care how much rapport that you have built, they're still going to want to maybe be, not show their cards. So here's what I want you to do. When you ask right up front and say, how much are you looking to get for the house? They say, well, I don't know. How much you give me? And just say, well, just a ballpark figure. I know you probably don't know exactly. What's the range? Give me a range. Keep it loose. Keep it loose, but put it back on them. Just give me a ballpark figure. Come right back. And it's like a tennis match. You hit it to them, you're like, well, what do you want for the house? They hit it right back to you, and they say, well, what do you give me? And you soften your tone a little bit so it's not this aggressive exchange, but no, be like, hey, no, I still need to run this by my manager. We're still going to come out and inspect the house, obviously. What's the ballpark range here? What you're getting? Give me a range. Give me a ballpark. So that's a good way to kind of get the number from the seller without being too aggressive. Make sure you have rapport before you, get into the money, the motivation. Why they're selling is more important than what they're selling. Be genuinely interested. That's why you got to have a yellow pad in front of you. Don't just recite all the statistics about their house to them. Don't just say, oh, I see it's a 3-bedroom, 2-bed. Well, you know too much. It's going to be a little bit scary. We have a comment from Mr. Brewer. If a seller is reluctant to give a price, use price anchoring to start negotiations, i.e., I've seen homes like this selling to other investors for 55 to 60K. Is that similar to what you were thinking? Ballpark ranges, he likes that as well. You could use both methods. You can say that, it's like, hey, I see other homes are going for, 55 to 60. I think something key that Eric said there is, homes selling to other investors. I also think it's very important And Eric, you can comment on this as well. You're very qualified with this. I think it's very important for us as investors to identify ourselves as an investor. Don't basically, try to act like you're some homeowner, because you're not, right? Let them know that you're an investor, but you have the ability to make this deal happen and you can close quickly. But let them know, hey, what you're doing is selling convenience. You're going to make this extremely easy for them to sell their house as is. Make it simple, but let them know, no, I'm an investor, but I can move really quickly. I'm the guy that you're going to want to work with. So with this being said, everybody, this is just a quick teaser of what you can find in our coaching community, risewiththecream.com. It's myself and RJ Pepino. We're there every day answering questions. We're basically on retainer for you. So we go through leads, go through deals, and we want nothing more than to be successful with you. Hope you got value from today's video, and we will see you soon.